So let's talk about mRNA operating systems, software, and applications. Let me start by saying that the government and the corporations that are producing the current mRNA medicine are telling the truth. 100%. They're not lying to you. They're telling you the whole truth, mostly. Now, when they use these terms, operating system, software, and application, these are analogies. They're used to clarify and help describe what it is that this medicine does. Now, most people don't know what software is, what an operating system is, or what an application is, even though they use them all the time. In this context, they are referring to your DNA as an operating system. They are referring to mRNA, which is produced by DNA, as software. And they're referring to what the mRNA tells proteins to do in your body as applications, as producing a result. So, will mRNA technology modify your DNA? No, it won't. It will not modify your DNA. The effects are also not permanent. Why do they want it to be not permanent? Well, because if they make a mistake, as programmers do all the time, they need to be able to provide updates to the software. They need to be able to modify it. They need to be able to create new software if the software they're using at the moment isn't working. So, what they've done with mRNA medicine is bypass DNA, which has a lot of problems and is a permanent change. And instead of using DNA, they are using DNA outside of your body of whatever kind. It doesn't have to be human. All they need to do is look at a strand of DNA from whatever, human, animal, plant, and identify a certain gene and what that gene expresses. The mRNA, the small set of instructions that gene produces. They can mix and match this and create sets of mRNA and then inject it into you, and then that mRNA will tell the proteins in your body to build and do what they tell it to do, bypassing your DNA. It's the same. It's kind of like a man-in-the-middle attack. Say you have two computers, and one computer sends instructions to the other one on the other side of the network to do something. And then somewhere along the route, someone intercepts that piece and then puts a new piece in there with different instructions. That's what's happening with mRNA medicine. I keep seeing people say things like mRNA medicine is attaching an operating system to your DNA. No, it isn't. That's ridiculous. They're using an analogy to describe what DNA does. They're saying your DNA is an operating system. And then people are saying that they're putting software into you. They're not. They're putting mRNA into you, which is instructions, similar to software that we have on our computers. It's not the same thing. Now, is it a problem? Is it dangerous? You bet it is. It certainly is. Anything that you can do with DNA modification that people have been thinking about for forever, it's been in movies and stories, you can do with mRNA. But it has the advantages of not being permanent, not having as much rejection from the living organism. Your body's not going to try as hard to reject it, although it does reject it, which we're seeing quite a bit of. But it also has the added advantage of being able to modify it later and not being permanent, which is why you would have to keep getting shots. And then if the current modifications are not working or producing the results that they want, they can change that, update the medicine, give you another shot, and that will produce an effect that will last. I don't even think they know how long it lasts, to be honest with you. I would imagine it's fairly short-lived, from, let's say, 1 to 6 months, I'd say, before it runs its course in your body and what they inject into you is gone. And then your DNA, which is not modified, would then revert and your body would start behaving normally again. It's extremely dangerous to allow something like this to happen because corporations change all the time. Their leadership changes all the time. Their business goals change all the time. Governments do the same thing. Their requirements change. A month from now, they might want something else in that medicine. And as you know, from using computers, let's say you're on a social media site. I'm sure you've gone to log in again or logged in on your phone or whatever service it is. And you'll get a screen that pops up that says, the end user agreement has changed. And the only option you have is to click, I accept, to continue using. 99.9% of people never read the end user license agreement. And there's not even any real reason to read it because they can just change it at any time. Now, that's exactly what's going to happen with mRNA medicine. It depends entirely on who's in power at the corporation, who's currently in political power, who has the most money to push their agenda, who has the most control of the media to convince you that the current direction is the right one. And people will follow that media because they don't have the confidence in their ability to look through all the truth and all the lies that are available. They've been taught this from the time they're children, that they should look at experts, and you should be able to do that. You should be able to trust them. The problem with it is those experts are people. Those scientists are people. Those people have problems in their life. Those people need money. They have children. They have jobs that they have to keep. They need food. So if somebody comes along and has enough money, most people will do what it is that person with the money wants them to do. Or if they are particularly strong morally, well, everyone has things that they care about. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of leverage in the right area, and you can sway people almost 100% of the time. Even people that are really strong will almost always, if you find the right place to apply pressure, just a little, they will change their mind and they will do what they're told. All the people that are putting out these posts that are saying it modifies your DNA, all these people that are putting out posts that say they're installing an operating system into you, and all the other terms are being ridiculous. And they're going to use that to prove that people don't have the ability to understand things on their own. and it'll be used as leverage to justify censorship. It will also be used to show how ridiculous people are that are speaking about it. On top of that, the people that are telling the truth, that do understand what they're saying, won't be listened to because you're telling them things that you don't understand. If you're a truther, take the time to figure out what you're talking about. If you don't even know what the operating system is on your phone or the processor, what a CPU is, if you can't write a simple program, how is it you expect to understand the analogies being used in this instance? The reason why they call it software is because it's produced in much the same way. Most programmers nowadays don't really know how to program that well. They can't program at low levels. They use libraries of software written by other people, built on libraries written by people before them. They don't even understand what those things do, and they just take bits and pieces of it, stick them together, and make it do stuff. That's why there's so many bugs in all the software that you use. It's constantly crashing. There's constant security problems. That's exactly what they're doing with mRNA. They're taking little bits of DNA that they find in plants, animals, and humans, and they think they know what that gene does because they look at it and they see a result that it produces. They're not 100% on it. And then they take these bits and pieces and they stick them together the same way that you produce software, and they're producing mRNA. And then they're injecting it into you to produce results in your body. The most important thing here is that they are telling you the truth. They're not lying. If you say they're lying, you look bad because they're not lying. They're technically not lying. They're just not telling you all the truth. The truth is that that's what's happening right now. Right now, there's shots, and currently what's in the shots is there to produce this effect. What they aren't saying is if there's anything else in the shots to produce other effects. And they also aren't saying that with repeated shots, that later on down the line, they can change what's in those shots depending on leadership, requirements, policy, and whoever has a little bit more money. And whatever it is, the media can convince you of that you need in your body. In 6 months, they might say that emotions are a problem. Rebellious attitude is a problem. It needs to be modified. All these things can be modified with mRNA without modifying your DNA. That's why this technology is heralded as world changing. Because it is. They can do whatever they want with it. It can be used for any application in our bodies. It's an endgame technology. Another thing people are saying is that there's nanotech in the shots. Now, when people hear that, they think there's tiny little robots in there, right? Little machines that they're injecting into you. And the machines get in there and they're self-replicating and they're modifying you. And they can talk to these machines and it's hooking you. That's not at all what's happening. The nanotech that is in these shots is the mRNA. It's considered technology. and it's nanotechnology because it's very small. But if you say they're injecting nanotech, they think that people think you're saying they're injecting machinery on top of the biological technology that the medicine actually is. They're not doing that. Take some time. Put some effort in. You're helping them to take away your own ability to speak by not putting the effort in that's required to find out what you're talking about. A lot of people that are actually programmers can't even tell you what an operating system is. Stop using terms you don't understand. Stop saying they're lying when they're not. Talk about the actual problems with a new technology that is extremely powerful, but in and of itself isn't a problem. The problem is the applications of it. Another problem is worldwide use of something that hasn't been used before by people that have open, long criminal histories. They have no reason to be trusted. The political powers that are pushing these things forward have the same history. A history of nonstop lies, nonstop criminality, one mistake after the next, trusting people with no track record whatsoever with a technology that powerful in your body simply because you're afraid. Fear that's been instilled in you by the media, which also has zero track record. Zero. Track record of nothing but lies. I'm probably a devil now because I made the 666 hand sign, right? Whatever. Keep building your own prison.